Hi, this is Chatboxing. I'm Sean. This is my final prediction for the George Groves Chris Eubank Jr. fight this evening. I'm still unsure of what I think is going to happen. I can see both of them winning it. I can definitely make a case of both of them winning it. But I am going to make a prediction based on what I think of which of the scenarios I think is most likely to happen. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised by anything in this fight. I saw the weigh-in yesterday. I wanted to make a video of this yesterday. I didn't get a chance, but I did see the weigh-in yesterday. A lot of people saying George Groves looked a bit drained. He looked like he'd struggled to make the weight, and I'd have to say I do agree with that. He did look a little bit drained to me. He didn't look like he had that much energy. He didn't look that physically strong or comfortable. Whether that's going to have a big effect on the fight, I don't know. Because obviously you've got someone like Chris Eubank Jr. who walks around pretty much at that weight, whereas George Groves cuts a bit of weight, or cuts quite a lot of weight to make that. So who that's going to be an advantage for in a night, I don't know. I mean, it could go either way, couldn't it? I mean, Chris Eubank Jr. looking at that, you would expect to be fresher. You'd expect him to have more energy, to have more stamina. But we kind of expected that anyway. That's nothing new. Whether it means George Groves has got less energy and less physical strength than, and especially in the later rounds, if he's got less in the tank, then well, that is a possibility. But it's also a possibility that he'll just rehydrate properly and he'll have quite a big size advantage over Chris Eubank Jr. So we'll have to wait and see. But it wasn't a particularly positive look for me, George Groves at that weigh-in. In terms of the fight itself, it's very, very interesting. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the first couple of rounds. Now, I expect George Groves to use a lot of movement. He's got quick feet and he's got quite a wide stance and he's got good reach. So I expect him to use that. I don't expect him to just hold his feet and stand there, because obviously Eubank is... I mean, you'd think that Eubank is going to try and push the pace really from early on. That's going to be his game plan, because the more he can push George Groves to fight at that fast, relentless pace, then the easier it's going to be for him to wear him out down the stretch, which is a scenario that quite a lot of people are picking. It's definitely something I could see happening. I could see him basically just tiring, like in the... I don't know, like let's say from like the 8th round on, you could see him just being exhausted, because Eubank just, he's just full of energy, walks around at that weight. The problem is, for Eubank, is he going to be able to sustain that kind of pace if he's getting hit hard with counters and body punches? Do you know what I mean? Because we've seen Eubank, where, like, for example, in the Abraham fight, that was 12 round, he was really, like, fast pace, putting a good lot of punches together. But Abraham wasn't really throwing anything back. He was just standing there with a big, high guard, and just letting him tee off on him. Now, Abraham, I suspect, is quite a bit tougher than George Groves, but he's nowhere near as mobile. So I don't think George Groves could have taken that punishment for 12 rounds, but I don't think he's going to be getting hit as much as Abraham. Now, George Groves does get hit, but he moves a lot, and he's going to be coming back with his own sharp counters. So it's going to be interesting to see how his stamina holds up if Groves can really hit him hard and get him in the body as well. I think that's what George Groves should be doing. He should be getting it, because we saw him in the last... I mean, he's got quite a few stoppages from body shots. George Groves has always been a good body puncher, but you can see in the Jamie Cox fight, he was really, he finished him with a body shot, and he's really working on them. I mentioned in another video that he's had quite a good run-up for this. Now, Jamie Cox, I believe, was quite a good preparation for Chris Eubank, in the fact that he was aggressive, small, fast, and he'd just come, steam in and try and get him onto the ropes. Now, I don't think he's obviously not as good as Chris Eubank, but I do think that he's prepared himself quite well in terms of the opponents he's had. Possibly Chris Eubank Jr., I don't think he's that well prepared for it. I think he's just someone who goes in there and just does what he normally does. So I don't think he really sees it like that. He probably just think, well, I'll just adapt to whatever's in front of me. But I don't know. He's got good head movement, he's quite agile, but is he going to be able to avoid getting hit a lot by Groves? Groves obviously knows he's got a very good jab. He can punch on the move, and he's got that great right hand counter coming in. So Chris Eubank, someone who does like to lunge in, is he going to be open for it all night? I mean, I could see it. To be honest with you, what I think is going to happen, if this is what I think, there would be George Groves' game plan if I was him. He's going to stay on the back foot. He's going to use that sort of wide stance and that sharp shooting counter punch and start to catch Eubank coming in. He's going to tie him up when he gets in close, using his size. We saw him do that against Jamie Cox when he just got him on the ropes, just tied him up, pushed him, forced him back to the ropes, and then started digging in those body punches. I think he's going to try and do that. I think he's going to land the better punches than Eubank. Chris Eubank is someone who, as good as he is, as good as an athlete as he is quite predictable. You know what I mean? You see him coming in with these big punches. You know what he's looking for. You know he's going to get that big uppercut. And, you know, George Groves is someone who is very clever. And he's been around the game a long time. He's been in with some very good opponents. So I think that whatever Chris Eubank brings to the table, George Groves is at the very least going to be aware that it's coming. And he's going to be prepared to at least try and nullify it. Now, whether he's going to be able to or not is obviously another question. But he's gonna know what Eubank's gonna do. I can't see Eubank suddenly coming in with an unpredictable game plan. I think he's gonna try and come in. He's gonna try and force the pace. He's gonna try and get those uppercuts. He's gonna try and push George Groves back onto the ropes, which, let's be honest, isn't particularly difficult. Everybody manages to do it. It's just a case of whether he can keep him there. Now, George Groves knows this. Shane McGuigan knows this. So you think they would have prepared for it. Now, one thing I would say, George Groves, he's been written off before in big fight. I remember the James DeGale fight. Everybody said that he wasn't going to win that. James DeGale, at that point, had a lot of momentum behind him, more so than Groves. Pretty much everyone was picking him to win. And George Groves, basically, people said, oh, he's a hard puncher, and that's his advantage. But he boxed well on the back foot, and he kind of outthought James DeGale. It was a close fight, but still, he did that. He dealt with that pressure of being the underdog, all the spotlight on it, big domestic clash. So for him, he's been in this position before. Obviously, he's been in with Carl Froch as well. The first fight, nobody gave him a chance. So he does generally step up to the plate when the moment is there. Now, people say he looked a bit worried at the press conference, at the weigh-in. I think he just looked a little bit drained, as I say, a bit out of energy. Just wanted to get out of there, replenish himself. He's not going to be worried because he's been there and done it. So for him, I think he is just completely focused on the job. He knows it's a tough job. Do you know what I mean? He can say what he wants, but he knows that Eubank Jr. is full of energy. He's very, very aggressive, and he's going to put it on you. You know what I mean? There's no two ways about it. Now, people are assuming that there are two things really. Assuming that George Groves, first of all, has got the power to hurt Chris Eubank. We don't know. Chris Eubank obviously coming up in weight. So far, so good in terms of he looked quite tough, but is he going to be able to keep you've got to consider if he's coming in aggressively and he's getting hit with those punches, can he take them for 12 rounds? I don't know. I think Groves definitely needs to work the body as well. Another thing, we're saying Chris Eubank Jr., everyone's just sort of assuming that he's going to be so tough and he's just going to be able to walk through everything and he's just going to do sort of 12 rounds, just, hell for leather. I mean, we don't know. We haven't seen him do that against someone really as good as Groves, hitting back, hard puncher, on the move, making him miss. So a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, as well, I mentioned in another video, one thing that Chris Eubank does, he's not exactly tight with his defence. He's got good defence, like with his feet. He's got very, very agile head movement. He's got good upper body movement. But in terms of blocking punches and covering himself while he throws other punches, he's a bit all over the place. He'll throw the uppercut and he's not protecting himself. He'll leap in with hooks. Same thing. Throws the jab, brings it straight back down. Now if he does that against Groves, he's going to get punished. Can't afford to throw that left jab and then just like bring it straight back down. It's got to come straight back to the chin, because Groves, with the timing, the that punch over the top, he's a counter puncher. Groves, he's got very sharp timing. So if he gets him with that jab, bang, he'll get that right hand over the top, and I can see that being a problem for Eubank. What I think is going to happen, I think it's going to go to. It's either going to be a split decision or a majority decision. I don't see it being a stoppage. Wouldn't be surprised if Groves going to stop Eubank. I think it'd probably be early on. I don't think he will carry that same explosive power into the later rounds, fighting against someone like Chris Eubank. Just with the relentlessness and that pace, I do think as it goes on, he's going to tire a little bit. If he can tire Eubank out as well, which from his perspective, hopefully he can, and I believe possibly he can, then you'd say it's unlikely that Eubank will stop him either. But I think if Eubank stops Groves, it will be later on through just a war of attrition. I think Groves will just be exhausted, can't take any more, and he will basically just sort of slump down on the ropes, just like I've had enough. Both of those possible. I think Eubank stopping Groves later on is more likely, but I think the most likely thing is that Groves outboxes him, mostly on the back foot. I think he'll hold his ground when he needs to. I think Eubank will probably, well, not probably, I'm pretty confident Eubank will throw more punches, but I think Groves will throw much more quality punches, and I think he'll hit him with cleaner shots, especially that right hand counter. I see that being the big part. Basically the uppercut to the body as Eubank comes in as well. I can see him catching him with a lot of them. Lots of jabs. I see it being very close, very competitive, but I'm going for George Groves on points in a very close decision. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I wanted to say about that. So let me know what you lot think, and thank you very much for watching.